Yeah.
They give you, there's a, they keep 10%.
I've never seen her. Like what she, I like what she used to do. Like she, I used to do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin in 5 minutes. Please make your way back to your seat. Again, we will begin in 5 minutes.
Although I feel it's always like one, two, three. One, two, three. And then I guess the one. One, two, three.
I'm sorry.
I'm definitely not looking for a shot.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You're good. I remember more than I see the brain, but it's getting there.
You. Like, these are. Sorry.
I'll look at her.
There was some activity earlier on. I was like, yeah, once it's all recorded and figured out, it's all set out. All right. And do you have
Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin in 2 minutes. Please make your way back to the seat. Again, we will begin in 2 minutes. Please make your way back to the seat. Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin in 2 minutes. Please make your way back to the seats. Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin momentarily. Please make your way back to the seat.
She's the one that she's stories about her son. But she does find so when I know that she's trying to start
So it's sort of like one of the and basically the whole company is trying to develop businesses as well as like promote doing so
Well, and also you need a chair, Steve?
what I would be doing. We have like sorry. I don't know if that's
the latter was fixed from last night.
Yeah. I think I'm.
We brought a table over and tried to put that on. I supposed the table was ready. I should.
So you know like a question.
Stability.
Hey.
Where's Kevin O'Neill? Right here. Out of the way. Should be good, yeah. Yeah.
It is really exciting.
Nobody gives a second chance. Desensitized. Yeah, I guess it's yeah, it's cool that you have interest.
Well, it's really big. You know what?
Hey, I got an hour 40 minutes, bro.
Oh, cool.
Here, leave it on like this.
I don't need it until the last two. I don't need it till the last two.
Okay, so I got an hour and 40 minutes.
All right. You got enough battery?
Yes, sir. 2 hours.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, so I think a lot of
Dirty dogs, takes it first.
I'm so nervous doing it.
Yeah, or like AI or something. Yeah, that's the right choice. Yeah, they need to go with all yeah, and I think you need to wear this like there's like a bunch of that's kind of like right now. $50 valuation. It is a bubble. But the thing with bubbles is it's like a this is like
Back to yours.
I'll probably be here for like 1 hour.
You need to be with me. Start soon. Okay, just one quick one.
Wires?
You're not gonna like push your laptop over?
Yeah. Francis!
Everyone come back. That was so much fun. Let's just put our hands together. It's easier.
All right, everybody, if you could make your way back to your seats, we're going to start our third session. That would be great, guys.
I have some friends. They're like,
Oh, we have her. Where are you sitting?
well, he's I know a guy who's really smart and he had a great talent. And he only just put on cameras. And he always posts on his videos. So it's like, sorry, we had to.
Is there someone else to take over this camera? Or should I still film? This is
Fortunately.
still one. But I can still have
Was it? Yeah, unfortunately we didn't get a second person. I didn't know you were only till 1.
No, that's okay. I'm gonna stay here the whole time anyway.
Sorry.
Oh, I like the curry one.
The sandwich, the curry sandwich.
Oh, they have a I didn't try that one.
That one was so good.
It's good?
Water.
Yeah?
All right, hope you all had a great lunch, and thank you so much for joining us for our third section of the day, Altruistic Advances. This is about how individuals in our community are taking advances and innovations and trying to truly focus on social impact on a community and a global level. So we're switching things a little bit, as you guys can see here. I have Dr. Francis Kong right next to me as our moderator, and so this format's called Fireside Chats. Very informal, kind of similar to a coffee chat. And as you guys already know, like Dr. Francis Kong wears many hats, including founder and president of Edge Interns, curator of Imagine Talks, and of course, the leadership director of the Miss Asian Global Pageant. So he's a mentor to many people actually in this room, including myself, and one of the kindest, most knowledgeable people that I know. So let's give him a round of applause, guys. And in my opinion, the best person to lead this section on altruistic advances. So Francis, do you know George Chao?
Yeah, I actually do know George. I've known George for quite some time. He was actually a student in Berkeley when I was working out there as one of the mentors. So George and I go way back, and it's been amazing to see him go through this amazing journey. So I'm excited to see what we can elicit today from our little fireside chat.
Perfect. So what are we going to talk about today?
I am curious about that myself, because there's been a long time between when he was a student and where he is today. And I'm curious to find out where that journey has led him.
Well, perfect. Let's bring him on up. Well, let's welcome George Chao.
Hey, George. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Did everybody has a good lunch?
Yes.
All right, awesome.
Okay, great. So this is a little different. We're doing a little fireside chat. And this is also very special to me because I haven't seen George in a while since he went on his crazy journey. But George, tell me a little bit about how did you and I first get to meet each other?
I think so. I was in Berkeley, I think senior year. And then I was involving with entrepreneur club. It's called ACES, the Asian Pacific Student Entrepreneur Society. So, and then we invite many high-profile speakers and then many mentors. And then I think we invited Francis there to share with his journey. So I met him there many years ago.
Fantastic. Now, when you were a student back there, did you know what you want to do, or were you still exploring what your options were?
Definitely exploring. Like, as we are students, we never know what we want to do. But that's why we involve many clubs, many organizations to find out what's our passion and what we can do for the future.
Awesome. And I believe now, somewhere through all your journeys, you now are involved with work in Africa, in China, here in Silicon Valley. That's a lot for just under a decade, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So, do we have some slides here, I think, yeah. Okay, so now you're also not just going and working in Africa. It looks like here that, did you actually start schools in Africa?
Yeah, so actually our church started in Africa in 2003.
Huh.
And then so we have 75 churches there. And then we started a group called ACT. It's called the African Career Training Center. So we want to equip the Africans, on coding, on solar, on video, on all the things that we take for granted here, but for them it's a huge learning. So we can help them. I think our goal is to help them sustain on their own. So they can grow. In Africa too.
So why Africa? So you have, I understand your roots to China and obviously Silicon Valley, but why is Africa now such a strong interest for you, for SBIF, but also out here for U.S. government as well too.
Yeah, so I think as we all know, Asia, our growth is kind of like steady, and then Europe is kind of declining, and then U.S. is kind of like growing because of the immigration, right? But Africa actually is the most growing, in the whole world actually. So every woman has 4.3 kids actually there, 4.7 kids there, and then so Africa is the fast growing, continent in the whole world. And then we can see, a lot of the young people there, they want to learn, and also as a lot of us know, China is going to Africa. China actually building $100 billion of port in Tanzania. Actually, that's first when I met with the president of Tanzania. That's how I got started interested in Africa. And then that time we were helping them to build solar. Yeah, so that's the former president of Tanzania. And then and also we started clean technology, solar, and then also now a lot of the career centers there. And then also the other thing is, as everybody know, China has this one Belt, One Road, right? So they want to go expand to Africa too. So definitely everybody's looking at Africa to see what we can do to help them there. And then I think actually the funny thing is, I think after President Xi went to China, and then the U.S. want to catch up. So Obama actually went to Africa to see if they can help do some kind of like Africa fund to build all this clean tech. And then so when the Africa president come here to visit, he actually come visit us first, and then in Vallejo, and then he actually went to Washington to meet Obama in 2014. Yeah.
So China invested $100 billion in Africa's development.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the other thing is, I don't know if you know, so I went to Africa in 2016 in Togo. So every African country, if you go, the White House there, I mean the president's suite there, the president's building there, also all the stadiums, all the airports are built by China. China built all this thing for Africa, and then kind of like as a gift for them, so they can do more business together. Yeah.
Okay, so they're helping them build infrastructure, right? And this is to hope to foster a better trade partnership. So here's the question. So the United States right now is still seen as a very strong R&D, idea-centric, and where a lot of the innovation comes from, right? China seems to be very strong in manufacturing, factories, product development. India has taken the lead in software. A lot of the coding, like even outsourced here. What do you think Africa's little niche in this global village will be then in the next 10, 15, 50 years?
Right. So I think, as we all know, India is kind of like doing all the softwares, right? And then, but Africa also trying to do more softwares because as their economy grows, right, they can actually have their own internal people supporting, all the software growth. And also, as China selling more products, manufacturing all the device, selling to Africa. Also, Africans is also trying to learn more on these areas. And also they might leapfrog, like as we all know, in China, in the US you have all the telephones, right? All those wired telephones. But in China, basically everything is wireless now, right? So they basically leapfrog all these infrastructures. And I think in Africa, right now they can also, when I was in Ghana, actually when you take taxi, you can actually pay with your phone. They actually can pay everything through phone because, to them, carrying cash around, you might get robbed, right? And also all that. So I think even in China now, everybody has WeChat and everybody has Alipay, right? So they all use that, and also they will be also using that in Africa. So I think Africa, they are trying to catch up everything, and then they definitely need help from China and also US. But their people we can empower their people because our goal is really to impact the generation. So we can actually empower all the Africans to actually learn coding, so they can hire within themselves. Inspire them so they can have their own product because they know what kind of problem they have the most, and then they can actually to create their own product so they can actually start their own company and then to grow, right? And then so a lot of the fundings can come from whether it's the US or in Asia, and then so can help inspire them. And then as us from Silicon Valley, right? I think we are here, we're the innovation hubs, right? So we can actually help a lot of them to if we all take some time off to go to Africa, you can actually teach them something, and actually you can learn something from them too. I see they are like very diligent, working and also working on different things. So you can really help them. A lot of time, we are here in Silicon Valley. We thought, we are just a normal person. We are not like Mark Zuckerberg. We are not like Larry Page and also all that, right? But you know, a lot of stuff we learn in school, you know, and then also we learn at all this kind of events, right? We can actually carry all the skills that we have and actually bring this to Africa, you know, to help, you know, right?
Okay, fantastic. So what do you think is your vision, your role you want to play in this development between China, Africa, and the United States? What would be the ideal role? Where do you think is the sweet spot to be?
Yeah, so I think, you know, in 2011, I started this SVIF with my business partner, Erenstine. And then so we definitely see there are more and more US-China, kind of like, and also US-Asia kind of like opportunities, you know, between US and Asia. And then so we kind of think, you know, hey, we want to make our own platform, a platform where US company can also go into China, and also Chinese company can come here, you know, whether it's big business or startup companies, you know, we kind of want to help US-China kind of like the relationships. And then so since then, so this is our 8th year. So every year we have big conferences here, and also in China. Now we have 4 or 5 conferences in China. You know, in Chengdu, you know, Shenzhen, Beijing, also Xi'an, and also Dalian, many places. And then we want to foster this relationship. And then also definitely, you know, one big thing also in China also is they want to do this one way, one road. So definitely, you know, we can actually see, you know, a lot of the needs actually also not just in China but also in Africa. We see there's big collaboration with these 3 countries, because you know, Africa has the most, you know, population growth, right? And then and kind of like China also have a lot of population. US has a lot of the, you know, technology, all that. So we do see there's the kind of like a triangular link that you know, these 3 places, you know, they can share. You know, we're talking about, you know, how to share the power and everybody empower everybody. You know, so we see, you know, different places has different, you know, whether it's technology or innovation or different things that we can all work together to make the world, you know, a better place. Yeah.
Great. Seems like we've got some little technical difficulty here, but can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Do you need the battery?
Is your battery? That's okay. We're gonna project your voice. Yeah. All right.
My battery back?
Good to get. I'm gonna have you project. Is that good?
It's dying battery.
I think it's a dying battery.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you, Venus. Awesome. Okay, so do you see more cooperation and more competition between the United States and China now with this emerging market?
Yeah, I see definitely a lot of cooperation.
Okay.
So you know, China is trying to do more, you know, electric vehicle. So for the U.S., you know, also many companies want to get into like Tesla, you know, go into China. So also, you know, all the electric vehicle the market is big, and also it will be benefit, you know, environmental, also all that. And also, I think also China was learning a lot from the U.S., right? With all the technology, you know, they're trying to make Tencent, you know, all those companies, you know, trying to make all this kind of like we call like the copycat of the U.S. company. But actually now, if you look at it, actually, Facebook actually is whatever they see Tencent is doing, now they are doing a lot of those too. So right now we see US actually a lot of the companies, because with Alibaba and Tencent, you know, they are doing a lot of the AI. They have a lot of data on, you know, all the stuff that we have on the internet. They can do more machine learning, a lot of those, and then we actually see US actually also try to see because what they have done in China also. So we definitely see there are a lot of the competition, cooperation, like in different ways.
Okay, great. Now you talked about electric cars and clean energy. I think we have some slides of you working in Africa with clean and solar energy, right?
Right.
So you actually,
yeah.
Okay, here you are.
Yeah. So actually, you know, one of our goals is really to help a lot of the remote villages. So we want to help them put on solar. So this is one of the remote village out of in Togo. So Togo is a French-speaking country, and then they are right next to Ghana. So they are on at West Africa. So our goal is really to help them, you know, put solar, so they have lights at night. So this is actually their first time. All these kids, they are so happy because it's their first time seeing a light, like you know, at night. So actually, when we saw this, actually another story was actually we actually teach them how to install solar, and then that day when we teach them, we actually we lost one part. So we told them, so we actually didn't see this while we were there. So we actually told them, hey, you know, just go to the hardware store here there and buy that one part. once you put it there and then you can install it, then it should be all good. But we don't know whether they actually learned it or not, right? So actually that was a test for them, right? And then so it turned out they were able to put that there and also have all the lighting work. So we were actually on the flight when they actually sent us this picture. They say, hey, we got it done. We're like, yeah, you actually finally learned, because we want to teach them how to fish, right? Don't just want to keep feeding them the fish, right? So our goal is really to see more and more remote villages like this can actually have more lighting. And then actually the other story about this is we were thinking about they want lighting, right? But the other thing was I want to achieve at this remote village. Actually, this village has about 1,000 people, right? And then the first thing they asked us, hey, can we charge cell phones? And then so actually the chief, actually they have a cell phone, not smartphone, but just a regular cell phone. They actually use that for emergencies. So like they charge their cell phone probably like once a month or something. But they don't have a battery, they have nothing, right? They have no electricity. So they actually have to walk like 20 miles, to the next village.
Jeez.
And then wait, and pay, and actually wait for many hours to get charged, and walk back another 20 hours, right? So when we told them, hey, our battery pack actually has those USB port, so they can charge it. So they were actually more happier. They can charge cell phone and they have light, and then right? And then so, but of course we see a lot of the, now African, they do more business through mobile, right? So now they can do payments through mobile and also that. So definitely, that's one thing we learned actually in Africa. So they actually, can actually have all these different things there. Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest challenge what is the biggest challenge you think for Africa to overcome as it progresses into the 21st, 22nd century of technology and the standard of living?
Yeah, so I think a lot of them still lack all the basic education. Like we take granted all our elementary schools, middle school, high school, and also all that. So we actually they need to learn more on math and science and all those things, because to them just having food is already, they're already happy having food, right? But the next step will be learning more education and learning more basic skills. Like I remember one thing very clearly when we were there. My wife was teaching them how to do kind of like we say, hey, if you have money, you can put this money into banks, right? Can give you interest. And she kind of like say, if you got 5% interest, if you have $100, how much you will get the next year, right? And nobody actually can answer. We thought they are kind of like shy, right? And then so finally one person raised their hand and they say, oh, like 130. And we're like they can. We thought like they can even do basic math. So I think definitely there are a lot of learning there. And then, but I think one good thing is, when you do coding, you don't need to learn, all the other basic stuff. And then so we can actually, and also a lot of the solar installation, video, all that. So those skills can be gained without, basic, kind of math. But again, we have another startup that we should bring to Africa. It's called Edify. So this Edify is a Stanford. I don't think we have a picture on that. Yeah. So basically, Edify is a Stanford. They have this black box called SMILE. It stands for like a Stanford Mobile Inquiry System and Learning Environment. So basically, we were able to actually put, because in Africa, having internet is a luxury. Yeah. So we actually put all the information you want to learn in this black box. It's called a SMILE, and then all the kids can actually use their kind of like those phones or laptop. Tablet. And then and also iPad, also that to learn all of those. So they can connect to the black box. So we are working with different schools, and so they can learn all the different things on that. So that's one thing we are hoping in Africa on education is an important part, in Africa.
And you also don't work just in Africa. You also work here at Camp Bismarck International Youth Conference. Tell us a little bit about what you do here locally as well too. Yeah.
So Camp Bismarck is actually CNN ranked Camp Bismarck as #1 teenager kind of like entrepreneur camps. So they actually have this entrepreneur camps I think 3 or 4 times per year. I think one of the pageant actually she also went to one of the camps. So basically the camp is a 1 week, and then they actually help you teach you entrepreneurship. So a lot of the young people they can learn entrepreneurship. So they are also right now expanding to Asia and also Africa and also many places. So they actually help kids to learn marketing, finance, how to be CEO. Like usually they group you into a team of 6, and then one person will be CEO, one person will be CFO, one person will be marketing, and then it's really fun to see, young kid to kind of like, presenting pitch for their company things, and then, we were thinking like, what were we doing when we were a kid, right? And then so it's really interesting to see how they can. So actually I judge at all those conferences, K-Based Smart every year. And then definitely our International Youth Conference is in Africa, so we do that every year. And then we bring African kids, from all of the continent. Usually we have 500 to 600 kids there. And I mean, they're not kids, they're like probably like in their 20s. And then so they learn a lot, they always like to learn from the US. And then so we teach them on business, we teach them on cash flow management, we teach them on culture, education, and different things. So that's what we do to help them.
Well, we're starting to run out of time, but I have to say that from the time in the years as a senior to today, I am absolutely impressed. Thank you for being such an amazing example of what a human being can be in just a short amount of time. Thank you for also hosting us. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Good job.
Thank you so much, George, for that entertaining conversation with Dr. Francis. And you're doing so much great work in the community and beyond. And we all hope to aspire the world like that too, right? So our next speaker is someone I've gotten to know personally. She's a very sweet girl, very smart, incredibly smart, actually, off the charts smart. She's done some amazing things for the community. And Francis, I've also heard you know Erenstine Fu as well.
I've had the absolute honor of getting to know her for the past couple years, and she's been nothing but just amazing to work with, to get to know. She is super inspiring. I cannot wait to have her on stage with me here today.
Perfect. I can't wait too. So we are in for a treat. Let's bring up Erenstine Fu.
Hi, Erenstine. How are
Hello.
you? Good to see you again.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, for those of you who don't know, this is Erenstine Fu. And Erenstine, now, have you ever heard of a magazine called Forbes?
No, I haven't.
No? So, who are some people that might be on the cover of Forbes in the past? I'm thinking there might be some people like
Francis Kong.
In a different universe in my dreams. Richard Branson might have been there. Jessica Alba, I heard, was there. So was Elon Musk and Jack Ma, Oprah, Delegates. Do you recognize who this person is here?
Yeah, I guess so. I think my childhood photo.
Yeah, your childhood. How old were you when you made the cover of Forbes magazine?
I was 20,
What?
a couple of decades ago, so.
Yeah, a couple
Yeah.
20. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I was doing when I was 20, but I was definitely not making the cover of any magazines. So, what happened? How did you make the cover of an internationally powerhouse magazine while you're still in college?
To be honest, I was pretty surprised since it was one of the first interviews I ever done with any publication, and they did this in-depth interview in which they were interviewing myself, they were interviewing my professors, my colleagues, partners at the venture capital firm I'm at, just a number, even my high school teachers as well. And then they also ended up doing a photo shoot, but I was in the middle of finals, so I had no idea what was going on. And a couple months later, I walked through the airport and.
Were you wearing that while you're taking your finals, and then they just took a picture and then made you
I
cover?
was actually, which is why, like, so the funny thing is, in that photo, I was wearing just what college students usually wear, which is like sweatpants, like tank top, and just a plaid shirt over on top, which is why I think they had to cut it. You know, like Jessica Alba looks great because she's professionally in business wear, or like Richard Branson, but I was in sweatpants. So.
You apparently don't need to be touched up. You're already naturally beautiful. That's awesome. That's beautiful. Now, when you were doing this, were you picked to be interviewed because of a project you worked on, or because of a class, or because it was an introduction? How did they pick to interview you?
So basically, I started working at a venture capital firm based in San Francisco called Altruist Advances, where I'm at right now, and was working on my first financing deal just within a few weeks of joining the firm, and ended up closing that deal. And then Forbes was like, oh, this is really incredible that you're able to, one, get into a venture capital firm at an early age, but two, also close a deal so early on.
So you were 19 when you did your first financing deal?
Yes. Okay. No need for the dramatic pauses. You're like,
I can't help this. I'm trying to think, when I was being 19, it definitely, I don't think I've even bouncing my own checkbook. So that's amazing. Now, from that point and onward, you've actually accomplished a lot of amazing things as well, too. What are some of the things that you do? I guess here's a good question. Walk us through, if there's such a thing, a typical day in your life now.
Sure. So I would say that every day is different, but there's probably a couple things that are fixed within my calendar. So, for instance, every single Monday, there's partner meetings that we have at the venture capital fund. So this is where we go through new investments, potential investments, also go through the existing portfolio, go through like fund financials, all that kind of stuff. So that's at least fixed on my schedule every single Monday. And then every single month, board meetings are also fixed on my calendar. And then outside of that, every single day is different in terms of I could be talking to founders, I could be talking to folks at large companies who are looking at M&A or like business partnerships. Every single day is different. So,
what are some of the projects, or one or two projects, that you've been working on that you found most interesting, that you're most excited about?
So we found this pretty cool company at Alsop Louis called Niantic, which created this thing called Pokemon Go, which some of you guys may have played. So essentially what was really cool about that was basically the founder and CEO, John Hanke, was someone who we had backed previously. So he founded this company called Keyhole that basically ended up getting acquired by Google and became the basis for Google Earth. And when he was at Google, he decided to create this small project called Niantic Labs within Google. And once he decided to spin that out, we ended up investing in that, and I think it's really taken off. There's a new game coming up, Harry Potter, and some new titles coming up as well. So
we've got some excited fans already, probably future investors right there.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome. And you also, I think Alsop Louis also invested in a pretty cool, small company now called Twitch, I think.
So Twitch was also an investment. So Twitch, we were the first investors in that company since Justin Kahn founded this company called Justin TV, which we ended up backing early on, and then one of the spin-offs of Justin TV was Twitch, so we ended up being the first investors in that, and one of my partners sat on the board of Twitch and ended up seeing that ride out to exit, getting acquired by Amazon for a little less than $1 billion.
A little less than $1 billion, all right. Not bad, not bad for a day's work. Now, you have a really busy schedule, obviously. I'd like to ask, what are some things that you actually do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Oh, okay. Am I supposed to list these things? Okay.
We can go through some of these.
Well, I didn't expect anyone to be collecting my hobbies in a collage form.
Anything in the internet is public.
But, obviously, I've been involved with the Asian American community in San Francisco, so have been a supporter of the Miss Asian Global pageant, as well as a couple other initiatives within San Francisco. Skydiving is something I've done every now and then. I guess going to the shooting range as well, photography and cosplay. So.
Now, tell us a bit about, you're a judge for Miss Asian Global, which was amazing. What was that experience like?
It was pretty terrifying, actually. So for those of you who were at the pageant 2 years ago, I think Vince Ma was like very happy that no one tripped and fell during the pageant. So actually, the judges get about 30 seconds of spotlight each, in which each of us are introduced. So meanwhile, I'm sitting on my chair like so nervous because everyone's incredibly amazing, incredibly talented. You can't really like tell the difference between like one amazing woman delegate versus another. So my foot fell asleep during the pageant. So when my name was called, I almost tripped and fell. So
you were very graceful. I remember this. So well done.
But it was definitely a very difficult role to play.
Yeah, thank you for being part of that. That was a very, very difficult night, but you were amazing. Thanks for helping us pick our queen that night. And now, how did you get started in shooting the gun range here?
So basically started shooting a couple years ago. So part of the partnership and the background Alsop Partners is that a number of our partners do have a government background. So, for example, one of our partners was formerly deputy director of the NSA. Another partner founded InQtel, which is the CIA's venture capital fund, and we have a couple other partners from InQtel. So, as a side hobby, a number of them love going to the shooting range since cybersecurity plus going to the shooting range are obviously tied, maybe. So basically started picking that up and I guess at a very early age. So.
At a very early age, you started shooting?
Yes, a couple of decades ago.
So note to any guys out there. And now
if you can shoot better than me, then...
If you can shoot better than me, then you got a shot. All right. Now what is this up here? This looks like you are directing airline traffic with a lightsaber.
Airline traffic? Okay. So
where is
this was Comic-Con in San Diego a few years ago, where I think you actually took that photo. Clearly you know what was going on there. So I was dressed as Power Rangers.
Pink Power Ranger. So. Very cool. That was your first time at Comic-Con?
It was, yes.
How do you, I guess, describe that experience?
Overwhelmed. I thought my costume was pretty cool until I saw everyone else's.
It was a cool costume. Very cool costume. And the lightsaber was very cool too. And obviously, now, how often have you been doing photography for a long time, or is it?
I have. So I took my first photography class in college. It was a black and white film photography class, going into the dark room, developing it. So now I just do digital, but yeah.
Well, I can develop film too.
Yes.
Of course, why not? And is this a one-time thing for skydiving, or is this something that you do on a regular basis?
I've gone a couple of times.
Really?
So, yeah.
What was that experience like?
It's fun. I mean, it's adventurous.
I've never done it. I gotta do this.
Yeah, we can go next time. So.
All right, we'll do that next time. Okay. So now that's what you're doing. I don't even know how you squeeze all this in on top of your work schedule. You also do a lot of. You have a very strong personal mission as well too, of public service. Can you share with me a little bit about where that came from, and what do you mean, what is their definition of public service?
So ever since I was young, I was always engaged in public service in some form.
Surprise.
There's all these surprise images. So essentially, starting from elementary school, middle school to high school, was always volunteering at hospitals, volunteering at senior care centers, orphanages. When I was in high school, I ended up starting a small nonprofit that was focused on bringing music and art to individuals at different care centers. And once I got to Stanford for undergrad, that was something I was very interested in doing. So over here you actually see a professor at Stanford named Tom Ehrlich, who I worked very closely with and who is still a very dear friend and mentor. Basically was very interested in looking at how do people engage in public service and how should people engage in public service, whether that's full-time career-wise or part-time, whether it's just a couple hours every weekend. So we ended up publishing a book on public service, and also even going into venture capital, I really thought that I was signing up for a job which involved work with government and a number of people who previously worked in government and didn't know what VC was at all, and was very surprised when it was drastically different from what I expected, but still a lot of fun.
You mentioned VC, so just to make sure everyone's on the same page, how would you describe what a venture capitalist actually does? Some people prefer the term, but they may not be exactly sure what it is.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, since when I first started out in venture capital, I thought it was just you have millions of dollars sitting in a bank account and you just start distributing money to aspiring founders. So basically, like the very first day that I started at my job, we had these partner meetings. So I walked into the partner meeting with a list of 20 companies that I thought we should give millions of dollars to. And every single one of them was shot down because I quickly realized that venture capital also involves a due diligence process and just a little bit more thought beyond just your college buddy wanting to start a company and a VC just giving you money. So basically, at the end of the day, what a venture capitalist does is we basically give money to a startup in exchange for equity and control of some kind. So at the end of the day, like we're able to help grow the company and also win when the founder also succeeds.
What do you love most about being a venture capitalist?
I think probably being able to see a lot of new interesting technologies and work with incredible founders at the end of the day. So as a VC, like we don't necessarily have the brilliant idea that's going to create $1 billion business, but at the end of the day, it's the founder who's really able to seed that and take it to the next level, and just being able to see what the next trend is really interesting.
So when you're looking at these companies as a venture capitalist, what are 1 or 2 things that are core and key that you look for in your recipe for success?
Yeah, I would say generally probably like 3 things. So 1, who's the team behind the company? Just because at the end of the day, ideas are cheap. So any company, any founder, oftentimes will get pitched the exact same consumer idea, the exact same like enterprise idea. But at the end of the day, it's really the team behind it who can execute on that. So who is the founder? Who's the founding team? That's absolutely critical. 2, in terms of what's the product and the technology and how is it unique and different in the market. So is there core IP around it? Is there something that's really defensible around that? And then 3, also just what's the market opportunity in terms of you could have some really fancy gadget for a very, very small market, but that's not really necessarily going to create a successful business as opposed to having some great technology for a large multi-billion-dollar market.
Makes sense. All right. So all you guys have great ideas. Make sure those 3 things are in place before you go talk to them. And you also, if I'm not mistaken, as I did in my due diligence, you also teach.
I do, yes.
So what do you teach? Where do you teach? What do you teach?
So I guess, yeah, no one should listen to me since I'm not a great teacher, but so I teach a few classes on entrepreneurship and venture capital at Stanford. So yeah.
Do you have some pictures of her?
Is there another photo? Okay. I'm just like expecting there to be another photo.
Of course.
So
We do have homework too. Now, what's going on here?
So over here is an entrepreneurship venture capital class that I've been teaching at Stanford for the past few years now, so it's gone on for a number of years, and basically we talk about what exactly are disruption and trends that happen in the venture industry. So new trends that include like new different funding models, whether that's crowdfunding with AngelList or things like, for example, new strategic investors, just disruptions, essentially disruptions in venture capital. So in this photo specifically, one of our partners at Altruist, his name's Tom Kalinske, so brought him into the class. Tom Kalinske has an incredible background. He was formerly CEO of Mattel, also CEO of Sega of America, so Sonic the Hedgehog. Mattel obviously developed Barbie dolls and Hot Wheels, so brought him in to really provide some insight as a successful executive taking companies to the next level. So
it's amazing. Wow. And I also want to talk a little bit about, you have a very strong sense of philanthropy, right? Mm-hmm. What is your definition of philanthropy, and how do you go about to practice it as part of your daily philosophy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the way I think about philanthropy, I think that definition has also changed over time in terms of initially people think philanthropy is just someone who's able to give away lots of money, or even if you think about public service, traditionally that's been I'm working in government or I'm in the military, and very traditional forms of public service, and I think a lot of that's changed over time in terms of being able to volunteer, for example, like volunteer for your local community, or for instance, volunteer internationally, or even just spend a few hours every weekend helping and supporting other individuals. I think that's important.
Fantastic. Do you have, as we round out here, words of wisdom or advice to future entrepreneurs or people who are actually interested in going into the venture capital industry as potential VCs themselves, or trying to learn what it's like to be an investor? What would be, if you could do things differently or over again, would you do anything different?
I think probably the most important thing is who you work with is incredibly important. So even when I started out in venture capital, I had absolutely no idea what VC was. I didn't know any of the venture capital funds and their names, but ended up at Altruist because I really liked the individuals who were there, and didn't talk to any other venture fund, and it was more just, rather than an interest in joining a specific fund or joining a specific company or getting into venture capital, is really about who at the end of the day you work with, and really enjoyed the team at Altruist. So.
Right, so basically environment and team.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, thank you so much, Erenstine, for coming. All right, we'll let you take the stage. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you so much, Francis and Erenstine, for telling us why technology, entrepreneurship, philanthropy is so important to us. And so next we have another speaker. We are actually going to switch gears again, and we're going to move these chairs off the stage and go back to our original format. So for many of us, failure has always been one of our greatest fears. Our next speaker had to deal with this monster for the majority of her life. Join me in welcoming Kristine Hara. She's the 2016 Miss Asia in San Francisco, UC Berkeley undergrad with a master's degree in computer and information sciences, and currently a computer programmer. So Kristine spoke last year at Grace Hopper. It's one of the largest conferences in the world for women in computing. She has an amazing journey, and she has overcome some amazing challenges as well. So I'm excited to hear her talk. Please welcome Kristine Hara.
Thank you. Thank you, Katie. Okay. When I was 15, my fencing teacher told me that I had natural talent. You have no idea how happy this made me to hear that. He told me that my form was good, and in my head, I was holding a sword as beautifully as if I'd been born with it. I was a horribly unathletic kid, the last to be picked for every elementary school dodgeball team. Deep down, I always wanted to hear somebody say, "Kristine, you're a soccer goddess, a kickball queen. We've never seen anyone dribble a basketball like that before." But that never happened because I was so spectacularly untalented at almost every sport on the planet. In middle school, my perfect 4.0 GPA went down to a 3 something because I somehow managed to get a B in PE. I don't know how that happened. But anyway, I was a nerd, so I was devastated. And the year after that, I took an extra math class to get out of doing PE. I didn't like to do things that I knew I was bad at. There's something mythical about athletics and talent. It just seems like something you're born with. Some people are just taller, stronger, faster, better at sports. And I wasn't one of them. So here I was thinking, maybe I finally found it. Maybe fencing is my thing. So my coaches encouraged me to do tournaments, and that's where it all went wrong. Because in order to get better at fencing, you have to lose. Hypothetically, you could be extremely awesome and just win your first few tournaments without a scratch. But eventually, in order to keep going up in the fencing world, you have to fight people that are better than you. You don't learn anything by sparring with the people that you can easily beat. Losing is part of the learning process. And I couldn't do it. I didn't like to lose. In fact, every time I did lose, I cried at a tournament, which was really embarrassing. My coaches encouraged me. They said, "You're good, keep working, keep trying." And I was like, no, I don't like the feeling of having my ass kicked. But one day that changed. So I trained and I trained until I reached the highest rank possible in US fencing. Just kidding, that never happened. I wish it did. What actually happened is I did 2 or 3 more tournaments. I cried every time I lost, got into college, and then I stopped fencing. But actually, this talk isn't really about fencing. It's about engineering, because I failed at fencing. I failed to do anything in an area where I actually had natural talent and a lot of mentors who were willing to help me develop it. This talk could also be called How to Become a Software Engineer When You Were a History Major in College and You Don't Know Anything About Computers besides being really, really pro at Microsoft Word. This is my story of how I graduated college with the wrong major, and I said to myself, this isn't where I want to be in life, so how do I completely change what I've been doing? In order to do this, I had to look in the mirror, figure out, drop everything that was holding me back, ego, pride, fear, and turn my weaknesses into strengths. So back to fencing and my fear of weakness. Fast forward 6 years, the same attitude just kept holding me back in life. I was 21 years old and I just graduated from UC Berkeley with a double major in history and biology. I had a great GPA, high honors, and 0 job offers. I was kind of devastated. I did 2 or 3 maybe job interviews. I didn't get either, and I became discouraged and gave up. Kind of like what happened with fencing. But you can't just not get a job. Everybody kind of needs money. I had health issues, and with no job, I had no health insurance. So I sat down to re-examine myself. How had things gone so wrong? My entire life, I'd been praised for being gifted, for being smart, for being kind to others. I was a national merit scholar. But the universe was telling me that I wasn't good enough, that this wasn't enough, and that was my worst fear. I felt like I was sinking, not swimming for the first time in life, and I had no idea why. Until I sat down and I realized my entire life I had been so incredibly afraid of being weak. I was so afraid to fail that it paralyzed me. Subconsciously, this meant I always avoided doing anything that I knew I was bad at. So in psychology, this is what is known as fixed mindset. When somebody has fixed mindset, they believe that the abilities that they're born with are fixed for life. So you might say, who the hell actually believes this? But it's really a belief, a mindset that underlies a lot of common beliefs. For example, whenever you praise somebody for natural talent, you're actually encouraging fixed mindset. Or if you believe that people are successful just because they're intelligent, or if you believe in prodigies that happen to be born with these extraordinary abilities, that's all fixed mindset. The opposite is growth mindset. So when you believe that you can do anything you put your mind to, you're thinking with a growth mindset. This also involves realizing that effort, hard work, and persistence can sometimes pay off much more than natural talent. So it's not that anything is wrong with fixed mindset, because genetics does really play a role in what you can achieve. But for me, it was limiting my worldview. I wasn't taking risks, and I wasn't constantly improved because I didn't actually believe that I could really get much better at anything. Anyway, so at the time, I didn't know that there was anything wrong with how I was thinking. I just knew that I'd gone from being the successful student to a complete failure of an adult. Here was my first weakness. I never did anything unless I knew for sure that I had it. I looked back at why I studied history, for example. Early on in a history class, a TA came up to me and she said, "Kristine, this essay is so amazing. You should be a writer." I was like, yeah, I could be. Because when you're 18, do you really know what you want to do for the rest of your life? It made me feel so much more confident to be praised. And so I decided my comfort zone. It wasn't until I hit rock bottom that I realized I had to try something I didn't know for sure that I was good at, and that turned out to be computer science. Because in my head, I was thinking, well, I wasn't getting a job with either of my previous degrees, so well, maybe that's more my true calling. Maybe I was really meant to be a brilliant computer scientist. Take that, people that wouldn't give me a job. I was broke at this point. But I took the remainder of my money and I enrolled in UC Berkeley's summer computer science class to take a shot at it. And boy, that class was freaking hard. It turned out everyone there already knew how to program. And those who didn't mostly dropped the class in the first 2 weeks. Computer science is one of those areas where you get a lot of actual prodigies. These are people that at a young age teach themselves how to code, maybe building their first HTML website or breaking into a poorly secured government database. That wasn't me. It's also a really logical and mathematical field. And for me, math is a little bit of a weakness. Like, I'm kind of ADHD. Like, sometimes I'll start adding 2 and 2, and in the middle of that, my brain goes, look, an ice cream truck. And then I forget what I was doing, so I add 2 again, and I come up with something really weird. So I wasn't a computer science prodigy, I wasn't a math prodigy, and things were getting harder and harder. I bombed the first test, which had never happened to me. There were a lot of long nights of staying up and swearing at my code when it didn't work. It didn't help any at all. I would go and cry to my ex about it, pressing enter 50 times, and then one more time just to see if on the 51st time, something that wasn't working before had magically fixed itself. It never had. But for the first time, I had found something that really inspired persistence in me. I sat down and I realized, Even if I'm terrible at this thing now, I don't have to stay terrible. The harder I worked, the better I got. And I found out how much more rewarding it is to succeed at something, even if nobody believes in you and is cheering you on and telling you that it's your true calling. From this experience, I found out something really important that has helped me in overcoming obstacles in all areas of life. You're never really weak at anything. It's easy to say, oh, I'm just not good at math, or I'm not good with people, or I'm not a natural athlete. But these are just excuses. Your areas of weakness are really areas that you just haven't put enough time and energy into yet. They're hidden strengths, waiting for you to sit down and take the time to develop those skills. So anyway, I ended up doing okay in that class. I survived, and I decided to come back to UC Berkeley, to the iSchool for another degree to learn more about computers. And at this point, my parents are probably going, why are you still in school? But I learned to love being challenged. And being an underdog was kind of addictive. But the more advanced I got, the easier things were, until one day I thought, hey, let's sign up for this machine learning class. That sounds fun. I didn't even know what machine learning was. It sounded like robots or something, and who doesn't like robots? Well, anyway, it turns out machine learning is actually a math class in disguise. It's a lot of linear algebra, probability theory, sprinkling of multivariate calculus. In short, math you don't know if you were once a history major. And it's a really stupid idea to try to do machine learning if you don't have the right math background. The best analogy I can come up with, it's kind of like trying to take a French literature class that's taught in French without actually knowing French. So the entire time, everyone's discussing texts in French and reading it and saying things en français, and the whole time you're just going like, what did you say? Anyway, that was me. So I would walk into this class every day and not know anything that was going on. The professor would be writing these weird symbols on the board, and I probably understood maybe like 10% of what he was saying. It was also intimidating for me that I was probably one of the only girls in the class. There were 5% girls. I used to count the number of girls in the class whenever I got bored or I didn't know what was going on. And all of these guys would also wear these free t-shirts that tech companies give out at career events. And just to feel a little bit better about myself, I too started to wear these free tech t-shirts to class. Just so you know, the professor asked the question like, does anyone here not know what a convolution is? And there's like 2 of us raising our hands in the back. I might have looked like an idiot, but at least I was dressed properly. And he was a really nice professor. He did explain what a convolution is, and hopefully I'll never forget that. So the whole time I kept doubting myself. I was like, am I smart enough for this class? Am I good enough? And maybe the problem is because I'm a girl, and girls aren't as good at higher level math, is what they always say. But eventually I made it through the class with an A, which is a miracle. I was not expecting that. But not because I magically learned everything on my own, or even because I worked really, really hard, even though I did. It's because I had help. And now for everyone who is afraid of looking weak, asking for help is like the worst thing you can do. Like the old me would have been like, why not just jump off a cliff rather than admit you don't know what's going on? But the new me had like no shame. So I asked for a lot of help. And I had a friend in the class, my friend named Kiet from Discrete Math, and he was my project partner. And he was the one that made a big difference because he answered all of my stupid questions, like what's that like squiggly line mean? He like basically dragged me to the finish line. And in the end, through this class, I just ended up learning a lot of math. I was able to take other classes on my own and eventually get job offers related to machine learning. So from this experience, I learned that asking for help isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's just a faster way to learn. It's a way to get to talk to an expert, get to know them better, like learn from their knowledge. The world is made of such incredible people with a wealth of knowledge. And each of us individually only has a limited amount of time and energy. So together, the more we can learn from one another, the faster as a society we can make progress. So actually, yeah, oh, my slides are there. Wow, I had no idea. Okay, thank you, somebody. Anyway, I got tired of drawing these with the mouse, so like there's just one more slide. But long story short, my story doesn't really have a happy ending. Mostly happily because it hasn't ended yet. I got a degree, I learned a lot of computer science and math. I spent a lot of nights crying over the fact that I'd wasted so much time studying the wrong thing. It took a lot of freaking time to do my majors. I always thought that I wasn't good enough and I wasn't smart enough to do everything that I wanted to do. And even beyond classes, it didn't really get that much easier. Tech interviewers would always look at me with my weird resume, and then the next kid in line who had an actual computer science degree. And guess who got the interview? So that made me really annoyed, and I was always talking myself up to sound better just to even be considered. But now that I've been a software engineer for 2 years at 2 different companies, I found that things have kind of changed. My weird, non-traditional background is actually now more of an asset than a liability. The history major is a badge of honor. When interviewers look at me now, they realize that in order to get to where I am, I had to be extra motivated, even more of a fast learner, probably even more annoying too, which I am sometimes. So even now, I still feel like there's probably a lot of things that I can't do. I did finally turn one of my weaknesses into strengths, but I still feel sometimes that I'm not pretty enough, not smart enough, not good enough to do everything that I want to do. But the difference is now I've learned that no good ever comes of being too afraid to try. Because if you haven't tried, you haven't failed. And if you haven't failed, then you haven't grown. And in my opinion, if you've never grown, then you aren't really living life. Some of you too may feel sometimes that you're not smart enough, not strong enough, not good enough to do everything that you want to do. But I challenge you to go out and find as many ways as possible to fail every day. Because through failure, you will start to grow. And once you've grown, you will have truly turned your weaknesses into strength. Thanks for listening, guys. I lied. There's one more slide. So if you enjoyed this talk, which hopefully you did, here are 3 related books and like 1 movie, because who doesn't like movies? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristine, for sharing us all your thoughts there. So this concludes our 3rd session. And just a quick announcement for anybody who is on their way out, if you could kindly leave your name tags, covers at the registration table, that would be great. And so I'd like to give a final round of applause to our speakers again, George Chao, Erenstine Fu, Kristine Hara, and of course, Dr. Francis Kong. All right, so we are scheduled now to have a break for 20 minutes again. And in the meantime, please talk to our speakers, engage with them. Part of Imagine Talks is to network, share ideas, inspire each other, and see what you guys can do to change the world. So see you guys here in 20 minutes.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So I started just like copy and pasting quotes and stuff. So yeah, actually some things for see you at the next one.
All right, also you guys, there is a photo op in the patio if you want to check that out, take some photos. And also, this is the last time opportunity to buy raffle tickets. So please get on that. Thank you.
She's graduating. She's aspires to go to